Douglas Murray is an associate editor at The Spectator magazine, and Usama Hasan is a senior researcher in Islamic studies at the counter-extremism think tank, the Quilliam Foundation. Good evening to you both.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Usama Hasan, first of all, do you see this as a clash of civilisations?
No, not at all. I see it as a clash of the civilised world versus an uncivilised barbaric group. I think the major world religions, including Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, have all contributed to what we call world civilization, which is actually a collection of civilizations. And now we have this extremist group with their medieval mindset who reject modern values. And I think the Republican candidate is simply ignorant of history and philosophy and theology underlying all of this.
Douglas Murray, the man who coined the phrase, Samuel Huntington, he defined a civilization as a cultural entity. Is that how we can define IS?
No, not at all. I think, by the way, sorry for saying it, 20 years now since Samuel Huntington's book. Most people haven't read it. I have, and Samuel Huntington's thesis was not that a clash of civilizations should happen, or that it could happen. It was simply that it might. And in the years since then, because it's one of those phrases that is so powerful, it seems to say something that a lot of people want it to say, people have sort of seized on it. And we've had 15 years now, since 9/11 certainly, of people saying, is this a clash of civilizations? And some of us have been saying exactly what Usama just said. I mean, for 15 years now. This is a clash, obviously, between civilization and barbarism. I suspect that what came out of Marco Rubio's mouth is not as considered as it should have been. I'm an admirer of Marco Rubio. I think he's got many great assets. But it sounds to me like a serious misspeaking, to use a Clintonism, of the actual situation.
So who do you think the they is that he refers to?
Well, I've got no idea. I can't speak for him. It seems to me he used loose language.
He's ill-informed, though, isn't he?
No, he's not.
Speaking.
As a sound, he's not an ill-informed person. But I mean,
somebody running for president.
Sure, and he should do better than that. But as I say, I can't speak for him. But it's obvious that, as I say, that ISIS represent a barbarian ideology. It is not a civilization. In fact, they are the destroyers.
So do you think there's any value in discussing the idea of the clash of civilizations in the kind of conflict that we're seeing at the moment?
I don't particularly, because I think that it is something which is effectively it's a discussion you would have at the worst and last possible moment. But we're not in such a moment.
Paris would strike many people as a pretty awful moment.
And I did not deny it being an awful moment. What I'm saying is there is still time for nuance. And the nuance, I would argue, is this, that ISIS are obviously a group who are barbarian. They obviously claim their ideology from Islam, and that is a serious problem for Muslims worldwide, and one Muslims worldwide obviously have to address and to counter. But ISIS itself is an anti-civilizational organisation. They destroy civilization.
So, Usama Hasan, if we put aside the idea of a clash of civilizations, how difficult is it for moderate Islamic people to be associated with, by religion in this awful way, with this barbaric group?
We're not associated with ISIS any more than Christians worldwide are associated with the KKK, or Jews with, violent settlers, or Hindus with...
Is there an implicit association that is difficult and distasteful?
There is in parts of the world media, and it is a process of othering, because people wouldn't do that with an extremist cult, death cult, from their own civilization. And that is a problem which Muslims face, where they're minorities. But I think the overwhelming view in Europe, because we have strong values of coming together of peoples, is that people are not looking at this as Muslims versus the rest at all. They are looking at it as integrated Muslim citizens. There's 20 million Muslims in the EU, for example, and they're generally united against this kind of barbarism, which is an attack on us all. And I think we have to build on that basis and stop bringing religion into it. I mean, one of the people who stopped the suicide bomber at the Stade de France was a Muslim, because Paris is something like 20% of Muslims, and they're generally very well integrated.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is it's not quite as good as that, is it? Because the problem that ISIS poses, and the problem that all Muslims who are educated know, is that ISIS don't get their ideas from nowhere. They have the worst possible version of Islam, but they have a version of Islam. It's the worst version for Muslims in any area they're in. It's the worst version for non-Muslims in any area they're in. But it is not true to say that they are, as it were, totally separate from and devoid from everything else.
Well, again, they're like the KKK or David Koresh or somebody.
But the difference, as we all know...
Fanatics based on on an apocalyptic and reading.
Sure, but may I make
yes,
the point?
They need to be refuted.
May I make the point, however, that does need making? The heads of the Christian religion worldwide, if the KKK went out and did something like this, their response would be not only unanimously against, but so frenetically unanimously against that nobody could possibly think that they spoke for the religion. The problem is, in Islam and in the Islamic world, as we all know, ISIS may be condemned by the House of Saud, but so what? The House of Saud cuts off everyone's head that they want to cut off.
Hassan,
Can I just finish?
ISIS have been condemned, and Al-Qaeda before them, by the heads of all the major schools of thought, from Al-Azhar to Morocco to Pakistan to India.
Look around the Islamic world and the
parts of the Western world don't listen to it.
Sure, but look at
Muslims are suffering. In Pakistan, in Pakistan, for example, the Taliban are a cancer, killing Muslims every day.
Douglas Murray,
Muslims
15 seconds.
And the problem is that the Islam propelled by the House of Saud, propelled by the Islamic revolutionary government in Iran, and all sorts of other times, are as poisonous. That is a problem.
Okay.
This is
Douglas Murray, Usama Hasan, we must leave it there. Thank you both very much indeed.
To ask us a question or to find out more about the Quilliam Foundation and the work we are doing to counter extremism, please follow us on Facebook and Twitter or visit our website.